October 11th, 1943. 28,000 feet above Wewak, New Guinea. The air is thin here, cold, the kind of cold that seeps through leather flight jackets and freezes sweat against skin. Sergeant Pilot Yoshio Fukui adjusts his oxygen mask, his breath coming in measured gasps. Below him, the world is a patchwork of green jungle and blue ocean, separated by a thin ribbon of brown coastline. Fukui flies a Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar, registration number 5347, built in Ota, Japan, 6 months earlier. Empty weight 1,890 kilograms. Maximum speed 530 kilometers per hour. Armament 2 12.7mm Ho 103 machine guns. 500 rounds total. It is light, nimble. In the hands of an experienced pilot, it can outturn anything the Americans fly. Or so they have been told. His squadron, the 77th Sentai, climbs in formation. 12 fighters, veteran pilots, men who have flown in China, Burma, the Philippines. They know their aircraft, trust their training, believe in their superiority. The Oscar is the product of Japanese fighter philosophy perfected over a decade. Minimal weight, maximum maneuverability, strip away everything unnecessary, armor, self-sealing fuel tanks, heavy weapons. These things add weight. Weight reduces agility, and agility wins dogfights. This philosophy has worked. For 2 years, Japanese fighters dominated Pacific skies. They shot down American, British, Dutch aircraft with impunity. The Zero, the Oscar. These names became synonymous with air superiority. Allied pilots learned to fear them. But something is changing. Fukui can feel it. In the past 3 months, the balance has shifted. New American fighters appear. Heavier, faster, more aggressive. They attack differently, fight differently, and they are winning. Below, on Wewak airfield, 23 aircraft sit on the tarmac. More fighters, bombers, transport planes. The Japanese have poured resources into this base. It is their forward position for operations against Allied forces pushing westward along the New Guinea coast. Lose Wewak, and the defensive line collapses. Then Fukui sees them. 4 silhouettes, high above, 30,000 feet or more, dark shapes against the brilliant blue sky, too high for bombers. These are fighters, American fighters, and they are big, unusually big. He keys his radio. Report the contact. His flight leader acknowledges. The formation tightens. 12 Oscars, ready to engage 4 American aircraft. Mathematics favor Japan, 3-to-1 odds. No contest. The Americans do not turn away. They do not circle cautiously, assessing the situation. They simply roll, inverted, and dive. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. The dive is not gentle, not controlled. It is violent, aggressive. The 4 aircraft plunge almost vertically, like bombs falling from altitude. Fukui watches, confused. What kind of fighter dives like that? At that angle, at that speed, most aircraft would disintegrate. Wings would fold, airframes would buckle, pilots would black out from G-forces. But these Americans do not disintegrate. They accelerate. 400 miles per hour, 450, 500. The air itself screams as they pass through it. Sound becomes physical force. The diving aircraft leave vapor trails in the thin atmosphere, 4 white streaks pointing downward like arrows. Fukui realizes what they are. P-47 Thunderbolts. The new American heavy fighter. He has heard about them. Seen intelligence photographs. The pilots in his unit laughed at those photos. Look at the size of that thing. Like a flying barrel. The Americans call it the jug, short for juggernaut, or perhaps short for jug of milk. Either way, it is too big, too heavy, too clumsy for serious combat. Except now, watching 4 of them dive at 600 miles per hour, Fukui is not laughing. The lead Thunderbolt levels out 500 feet above the Japanese formation. closes in 300 meters, 200. Fukui can see details now. The broad wings, the massive radial engine, the pilot's head is visible in the cockpit. Then the wings light up. 8 points of fire. 8 50 caliber Browning machine guns firing simultaneously. The Oscar to Fukui's left simply ceases to exist. One moment it is there, flying formation, pilot visible in the cockpit. The next moment it is debris. The fuselage tears open. The engine explodes. The wings separate. Fuel ignites. The fireball expands, a sphere of orange flame against the blue sky. Pieces tumble earthward, trailing black smoke. 3 seconds, from the first shot to complete destruction. 3 seconds. Fukui jerks his stick, throwing his Oscar into a hard right turn. The nimble fighter responds instantly. 16-second turn circle, the tightest of any aircraft in the world. He completes the turn, looking for the American, ready to counterattack, ready to use his aircraft's superior maneuverability. The American is gone, already climbing, using the enormous speed from his dive to rocket back to altitude. 20,000 feet, 25,000, 30,000. Back where he started, untouchable. Behind Fukui, the battle erupts. The other 3 Thunderbolts slash through the Japanese formation like scythes through wheat. No maneuvering, no dogfighting. Just speed, firepower, and violence. They attack in pairs. One dives, fires, climbs. While he climbs, his wingman dives. The pattern repeats. Relentless, methodical, devastating. A Tony tries to climb after the Americans. Bad mistake. At high altitude, Oscar and Tony struggle. Their engines choke in thin air. Power drops. Climb rate slows to a crawl. The Thunderbolts, with their turbo-supercharged engines, are just reaching peak performance. One of them rolls, dives, catches the climbing Tony from above. 2-second burst. Tony's tail explodes. The aircraft tumbles, spinning, out of control. Fukui tries to organize a defense, keys his radio, attempts to coordinate, but there is no coordination possible. The Americans attack from everywhere and nowhere. They appear, strike, and vanish before anyone can react. The Japanese pilots scatter, each fighting his own desperate battle for survival. Oscar manages to get behind one of the Thunderbolts, closes to the firing range, opens up with his machine guns. The tracers arc across the sky, converging on the American's fuselage. Direct hits. Multiple hits. The 12.7mm rounds strike the Thunderbolt's armor plating. They bounce off, literally bounce off. The American does not even change course. He climbs away, apparently unharmed. The Oscar pilot, out of ammunition, out of altitude, out of options, turns for home. He is one of the lucky ones. The battle lasts 57 minutes. When it ended, 9 Japanese aircraft are destroyed, 4 confirmed crashes, 5 probably destroyed based on damage observed, 3 more damaged but limped back to base. The 4 American P-47 seconds return to their airfield at Ward's Drome. All 4 intact, no battle damage. Fuel gauges reading near empty, but otherwise ready to fly again tomorrow. That night, Yoshio Fukui sits in his quarters. A tent, actually. Canvas stretched over wooden frames. The jungle humidity makes everything damp. His flight suit hangs on a peg, still smelling of smoke and fear. He writes in his diary by candlelight. His hands shake slightly. Not from fear, he tells himself. From exhaustion. He writes about the P-47, about the dive, the speed, the firepower. His 2 years of training in aerobatics suddenly felt obsolete. Today proved him wrong. The Americans, he writes, have brought a new kind of warfare to the sky. They do not fight with grace or elegance. They fight with mathematics, weight, speed, energy. Against this, our advantages disappear. We can turn tighter. cannot stop them. He pauses. Consider crossing out that last sentence. It sounds defeatist, but it is true. So, he leaves it. We are fighting an enemy, he writes finally, that does not play by the rules we were taught, and we are losing. 15,000 miles away, 5 months earlier, June 1943, Weehawken, New Jersey. The Henry Gibbons, an Army transport ship, pulls away from the dock. Aboard are 387 men, the ground personnel of the 348th Fighter Group. They wave to families on the pier. Wives, children, parents. Some were crying. Some smiled bravely, all wondering if they will see their men again. The ship steams south. The soldiers think they are heading for England. For the European theatre, they have trained on P-47 Thunderbolts for 8 months. The P-47 is designed for high-altitude bomber escort over Europe. Everyone knows that. The scuttlebutt says they will join the 8th Air Force, escort B-17 seconds to Germany, fight the Luftwaffe. They are wrong. The Henry Gibbons passes through the Panama Canal, turn west, across the Pacific. Destination, Brisbane, Australia. The soldiers crowd the rails, watching the ocean. It is vast, empty, endless. Many of them have never seen the Pacific before. They begin to understand the scale of the war they are entering. June 14, 1943. Brisbane. The Henry Gibbons docks. The men disembark. They are trucked to Archerfield Airfield, a Royal Australian Air Force base south of the city. There they wait. 2 weeks have passed. The tropical heat is oppressive. Humidity soaks through uniforms in minutes. Mosquitoes swarm at dusk. Some men contract malaria despite the quinine pills they take daily. Then the aircraft arrived. The USS Saratoga, an aircraft carrier, steams into Brisbane Harbour. Her flight deck is packed with P-47D Thunderbolts, not created, fully, assembled. Just the propellers, ailerons, elevators, and rudders removed for transport. 48 aircraft. They are offloaded by crane, towed to Archerfield. There, in the baking Australian sun, crews assemble them. RAAF personnel help. So do technical representatives from Republic Aviation, Pratt & Whitney, and Curtiss Electric. The work takes days. Each aircraft must be carefully assembled, propellers installed, control surfaces attached, engine systems checked, radio equipment tested. Lieutenant Colonel Neel Kearby oversees every detail. Age 32, from Wichita Falls, Texas. Commanding officer of the 348th Fighter Group. He has flown P-39 Airacobras in the Panama Canal Zone, transitioned to P-47 seconds in Massachusetts. Now he is responsible for bringing this new fighter into combat against the Japanese, a fighter most people think is unsuited for Pacific warfare. Kearby does not care what most people think. He studies the P-47's specifications, reads the technical manuals, flies test flights. He begins to see possibilities others miss. The P-47D weighs 8 tons fully loaded. Its Pratt & Whitney R 2,800 engine produces 2,000 horsepower. Turbo-supercharged for high-altitude performance, it carries 8 50 caliber machine guns, 3,400 rounds total, 140 rounds per second when all guns fire together. Its armor is extensive. Steel plates behind the pilot, around the engine. The windscreen is 38 millimeters of bulletproof glass. It is not nimble. Will never be nimble. But Kearby understands something fundamental. In combat, there are different ways to win. Dogfighting is one way, but there are others. By the end of July, all 48 P-47 seconds are assembled, tested, and ready. The 3 squadrons, the 340th, 341st, and 342nd, fly from Brisbane to Townsville, from Townsville to Port Moresby, 1,200 miles over jungle and ocean. If an engine fails, there is nowhere to land. Pilots bail out into the jungle or ocean and hope rescue finds them before the Japanese do, or before the jungle kills them. All 48 aircraft arrive safely. Port Moresby, New Guinea, the forward edge of the war. From here, American and Australian forces are pushing west and north, driving the Japanese back airfield by airfield, island by island. The campaign is brutal. Jungle, disease, heat. The Japanese fight for every foot of ground, and in the air, Japanese fighters still dominate. The Oscar, the Zero, light, maneuverable, flown by experienced pilots. The Allies have P-40 Warhawks, P-38 Lightnings, and Australian boomerangs, good aircraft, but not enough of them, and losses are high. General George Kenny, commander of 5th Air Force, needs more fighters. Any fighters. When he hears the 348th Fighter Group has arrived with P-47 seconds, he is delighted. Some of his staff are skeptical. The P-47 is too heavy for the Pacific, they say. Too big, too slow. But Kenny has learned to be pragmatic. He will take what he can get, and if the P-47 is unsuitable, they will find that out soon enough. Kearby assembles his pilots at Ward's Drome, the fighter strip at Port Moresby. August 1st, 1943. 96 men, ages ranging from 19 to 35. Most have never seen combat. They are confident, well-trained, eager. They look at their P-47 seconds, massive and powerful, and feel invincible. Kearby stands on the wing of his own aircraft, serial number 42 to 8066. He has named it Fiery Ginger after his wife Virginia, whose red hair earned her that nickname. He speaks plainly. No theatrics, no patriotic speeches, just facts. The P-47, he says, will not dogfight the Japanese. It cannot. If you try to turn with an Oscar or a Zero at low altitude, you will die. It is that simple. The pilots shift uncomfortably. They have trained in dogfights. That is what fighter pilots do. The Japanese, Kearby continues, have built their aircraft around one principle, maneuverability. They sacrifice everything for it: armor, fuel tank protection, heavy armament, structural strength. In a turning fight below 10,000 feet, their aircraft are superior to ours. Accept this. He pauses. Let that sink in. But the P-47 was not built to dogfight. It was built to kill. There is a difference. Dogfighting is a contest of skill. Killing is mathematics. He outlines the tactics. The P-47 will operate at high altitude, 25 to 30,000 feet. At that altitude, the turbo-supercharged engine gives them full power. The Japanese fighters, struggling in thin air, lose performance. From that altitude, the P-47 will dive. Not a gentle dive, a vertical plunge, using gravity and engine power together to achieve speeds the Japanese cannot match. At 600 miles per hour, aiming becomes difficult. The gun sight wobbles. The target flashes past in fractions of a second, but Kearby has figured this out. Get close, he tells them. 400 yards is too far. Get to 200 yards, 100 if you can. At that range, even a short burst is devastating. 8 guns firing together are not bullets. It is a solid wall of lead. Nothing survives it. After the attack, pull out. Use the dive's momentum to climb back to altitude. Do not chase. Do not turn. Do not give the enemy a chance to use their advantages. Climb, reform, dive again. We will not win through skill, Kearby says. We will win through discipline. Follow the tactics. Trust the aircraft. It is heavier than theirs, yes. But that weight is armor, structural strength, firepower. Those things keep you alive. He dismisses them. They walk back to their tents, processing what they have heard. Some are disappointed. They wanted to be fighter aces, to dogfight enemy pilots in dramatic aerial duels. What Kearby described sounds mechanical, unromantic, but the veterans, the handful who flew P-40 seconds or P-38 seconds before transitioning to the P-47, understand. They have seen what Japanese fighters can do. They have seen friends die. Kearby's tactics sound boring, but boring means alive. The training begins. Every day. Morning and afternoon flights. Dive and climb. Dive and climb. Over and over, until the maneuver becomes instinct, until pilots can judge altitude by feel, know their speed without checking instruments, react without thinking. Some pilots complain, "When will we see combat? When will we fight?" Soon enough. August 16, 1943. The 348th Fighter Group flies its first combat mission, escort duty, 24 P-47 seconds protecting 12 C-47 transport aircraft flying supplies to Marilinen, a forward airstrip near the front lines. The transports land, unload supplies, take off again, routine. The P-47 seconds circle overhead at 18,000 feet. No enemy contact. Then, from the south, they appear. 12 Nakajima Ki, 43 Oscars. The 77th Sentai, experienced pilots. They have been flying combat missions since early 1942. They see the American fighters, identify them as P-47 seconds. The Japanese pilots have heard about the Thunderbolt. Heavy, clumsy, easy prey. They attack. Lieutenant Thomas Barber sees them first. Calls out over the radio. Bandits, 6 o'clock low, 12 contacts. His voice is calm, professional, but his hands tighten on the control stick. Barber leads the second flight, 4 aircraft. He checks his altitude, 18,000 feet. The Oscars are at 12,000. Perfect. He keys his mic. Second flight, follow me down. He rolls inverted, pulls the stick into his lap. The P-47 noses over into a dive. Behind him, his 3 wingmen follow, 4 Thunderbolts dropping like stones. The Oscars break formation, scattering. They expect the Americans to level out, to engage in a turning fight. But the P-47 seconds do not level out. They keep diving. The airspeed indicators creep upward. 400, 450, 500. The aircraft shook, the wind screams. Barber's vision tunnels slightly from the G-forces, but the gun sight holds steady. He selects his target, an Oscar trying to turn left, closes to 300 yards, 200. Squeezes the trigger, the 8 Brownings roar, recoil jolts the cockpit. The gun sight fills with tracers. Half the rounds are tracer bullets, visible as bright streaks. Between each visible tracer are 4 invisible bullets. The combined firepower is staggering. The Oscar disintegrates, literally disintegrates. The lightly built Japanese fighter has no armor, minimal structural strength. 850 caliber bullets per second strike it. The wings shred. The fuselage tears open. The engine mounts snap. The fuel tanks ignite. In 1 second, the Oscar transforms from an aircraft into burning debris. Barber pulls out of his dive. 6 Gs, 8 Gs. The P-47 groans but holds. He levels at 5,000 feet, pushes the throttle forward, begins to climb. Behind him, his wingman, Lieutenant Robert de Haven, has just downed a second Oscar. Captain Max Weeks, leading the 3rd flight, spots an Oscar diving toward the transports. He rolls in from above, closes fast, too fast. He and the Japanese pilot are racing toward each other head-on, both firing, closing at a combined speed of 700 miles per hour. 2 seconds to impact, 1 second. Weeks pulls up. The Oscar pulls down. They miss each other by feet. Weeks feels the turbulence as the 2 aircraft pass. He glances back. The Oscar is burning, spinning, crashing into the jungle. The battle lasts 4 minutes. When it ends, 3 Japanese aircraft are destroyed, 2 confirmed, 1 probable. The remaining 9 Oscars retreat southward. The P-47 seconds do not pursue. They reform, circle the transports, complete the escort mission, return towards Drome. That evening, the pilots gathered for debriefing. Kearby questions each one. What happened? What worked? What did not? The consensus is clear. The tactics worked. The Japanese expected a dogfight, got ambushed instead. Gun camera footage confirms the kills. Kearby watches the film, studies the angles, the closing speeds, the burst lengths. He makes notes. 2-second bursts are sufficient. Longer bursts waste ammunition and risk jamming the guns. Closing to 200 yards or less is essential. At longer ranges, even 8 guns do not guarantee a kill. He gathers the squadron leaders. We have proven the concept, he tells them, but this was a small engagement. Light opposition. The Japanese will adapt. They will try different tactics. We must be ready. Over the following days, the missions continue. Bomber escort, transport escort, fighter sweeps. The P-47 seconds fly 2 to 3 missions per day. They encounter Japanese fighters on half the missions. Each engagement follows the same pattern. The Thunderbolts climb high, wait, dive, attack, climb away. The kill ratio is impressive. By the end of August, the 348th Fighter Group has flown 82 combat sorties, claimed 11 enemy aircraft destroyed, lost 1 P-47 to mechanical failure, not enemy action. But these are small engagements, 6 fighters against 8, 4 against 5. The Japanese are testing the American defenses, probing. Soon, they will commit larger forces, and then the real test will come. September 4th, 1943. Kearby leads a 4-ship flight on a sweep toward Wewak. With him are 3 experienced pilots. Captain John Moore, Lieutenant Raymond Gallagher, Captain William Dunham. They climb to 27,000 feet. The flight takes 90 minutes. Fuel gauges read 3/4 full, enough for combat and return. At 11:15, Kearby spots them. 2 Mitsubishi G-4M bombers, flying at 5,000 feet, heading southwest toward Allied positions. They carry bombs, probably targeting Port Moresby or one of the forward airfields. Above the bombers, at 8,000 feet, 6 Oscars fly escort. Kearby does not hesitate. He calls the attack. The 4 P-47 seconds drop their external fuel tanks. The heavy tanks tumble away, spinning through the air. Now the Thunderbolts are lighter, more agile, faster. Kearby rolls inverted, dives. The Japanese see them coming. The Oscar pilots break toward the diving Americans, trying to intercept, but they are too slow, too low. The P-47 seconds flash past them at 550 miles per hour. The Oscars' closing speed is insufficient. They cannot even fire effectively. Kearby levels out behind the first bomber. 500 yards, 400, 300. He fires. The 8 guns converge on the G-4M's left-wing route. That is where the fuel tanks are. Kearby knows this. He has studied Japanese aircraft diagrams. The 50 caliber rounds punch through the aluminum skin into the fuel tanks. The bomber explodes, not catches fire. Explodes. The fuel detonates in a massive fireball. The aircraft simply vanishes in the blast. Debris rains into the ocean below. Moore takes the second bomber. Similar attack, similar results. The G-4M's right engine tears loose. The wing folds. The bomber spins inverted, crashing into the sea in a column of spray. Both bombers were destroyed in 20 seconds. Now the Oscars attack. They dive from above, trying to catch the Americans as they climb away. But the P-47 seconds are already accelerating, climbing. The Pratt & Whitney R-2800 engines, turbo-supercharged for altitude, produce full power. The Thunderbolts climb at 1,200 feet per minute. The Oscars, at this altitude, manage 600. Kearby reaches 20,000 feet, turns. Look down, spots an Oscar climbing desperately toward his position. The Japanese pilot is giving it everything. Stick back, throttle forward, trying to reach the American's altitude. He is brave, determined, and doomed. Kearby rolls, dives, closes from above and behind. The Oscar pilot sees him too late. Try to turn. The light fighter snaps into a hard right bank. But Kearby is already firing. 2-second burst. The Oscar's engine cowling shreds. The propeller flies off, spinning away. Black smoke pours from the engine. The Oscar rolls inverted. Falls, crashes into the jungle. 3 enemy aircraft destroyed. Kearby lands at Ward's drome with 200 rounds remaining and fuel fumes in his tanks. His gun camera footage confirms all 3 kills. The intelligence officers copy the film, forward it to 5th Air Force headquarters. General Kenny watches it that evening, calls Kearby personally to congratulate him. "Keep it up," Kenny tells him. "The P-47 is proving itself. We need more victories, more proof that your tactics work." Kearby understands. The P-47 is expensive. Each aircraft costs $83,000. The Army wants results before committing more resources, more groups, more aircraft. Everything rides on the 348th's performance. The pressure is on. September 15th, 1943. Kearby leads another sweep, this time 6 P-47 seconds. They encounter a Mitsubishi Ki-46 reconnaissance plane, twin-engine, fast, altitude 23,000 feet. The Ki-46 is one of Japan's best reconnaissance aircraft. Speed 600 kilometers per hour, faster than most fighters, but not faster than a diving P-47. Kearby attacks from above. The Ki-46 sees him, dives to escape, but Kearby is already diving faster. He closes. Fires. The reconnaissance plane's left engine explodes. The aircraft rolls, out of control. Crashes near Lai. 4 kills now. Kearby is becoming an ace. But he does not think about that. He thinks about tactics, about improving techniques, about teaching his pilots to survive. September 23rd, 1943. Kearby is promoted to full colonel. He continues flying combat missions, leading from the front. Some of his pilots have already scored multiple kills. Thomas Barber has 3, Robert de Haven has 4, Lawrence O'Neill has 2. The 348th Fighter Group is building a reputation, but the real test is coming. October. The Japanese concentrated forces at Wewak. They are planning a major offensive. They need to stop the Allied advance, recapture lost airfields, push the Americans back. To do this, they need air superiority. They commit everything. Fighters, bombers, reconnaissance aircraft. Hundreds of planes converge on Wewak. The Japanese Air Force is preparing for the largest air campaign since Guadalcanal. General Kenny knows this. His intelligence officers report massive Japanese build-ups. Hundreds of aircraft on the ground at Wewak. More arriving daily. He needs to disrupt this. Destroy aircraft on the ground. In the air. Break the Japanese concentration before they can launch their offensive. He turns to the 348th Fighter Group, to Neel Kearby, and asks for volunteers for a deep penetration fighter sweep into the heart of Japanese-held territory, over Wewak itself. It is a suicide mission. Everyone knows this. Wewak is defended by anti-aircraft guns, fighters, and pure distance. It is 250 miles from Port Moresby, at the extreme limit of the P-47's range. A fighter sweep means no external tanks for extra fuel, internal fuel only, maybe 90 minutes of flight time. If anything goes wrong, if they have to fight longer than planned, they will run out of fuel over enemy territory. Kearby volunteers immediately. So do his most experienced pilots. They will fly on October 11th, 4 aircraft, deep penetration, find the enemy, engage, return, if possible. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. October 11th, 1943, 04:30 hours, Ward's drome. The eastern sky shows the first hint of dawn, purple fading to pink. Stars are still visible overhead. The air is cool. Soon the tropical heat will return, but for now, the temperature is almost comfortable. Kearby wakes in his tent. He has slept 4 hours. Not enough, but enough. He straps on his .45 caliber pistol, tucks his maps into a leg pocket, checks his survival kit, knife, compass, water purification tablets, fishing line. In the jungle, these items might mean the difference between life and death. He walks to the operations tent. Coffee is brewing. Strong, bitter, scalding hot. He pours a cup, studies the weather map. Clear skies predicted over Wewak. Good visibility, perfect for reconnaissance, perfect for combat. His wingmen arrive. Captain John Moore, tall, thin, 24 years old, operations officer for the 341st Squadron. 12 combat missions, 1 confirmed kill. Major Raymond Gallagher, short, stocky. 28. Commander of the 342nd Squadron, 20 combat missions, 3 confirmed kills. Captain William Dunham, medium height, quiet, 26, 15 combat missions, 2 confirmed kills, all experienced pilots, all volunteers. They know the risks. Briefing is short. Fly to Wewak. Observe enemy airfields. Count aircraft. Note defenses. If opportunity presents, engage. But reconnaissance is the primary mission. Intelligence gathering, not combat. They walk to the flight line. 4 P-47Ds sit on the pierced steel planking. Aircraft serial numbers 42 to 8066, 42 to 8053, 42 to 8147, and 42 to 8092. Pre-flight inspections complete. Fuel tanks are full. Guns loaded. 3,400 rounds per aircraft, 13,600 rounds total. Kearby climbs into his cockpit. The seat is worn, shaped to his body. He straps in, 5-point harness. Tight. He connects his oxygen mask, tests the flow. Good. Radio check. All 4 aircraft have clear communication. 0515. Engines start. The Pratt & Whitney R2000. 800 seconds rumble to life. 18 cylinders each. 2,000 horsepower. The Pratt & Whitney sound is deep, powerful, reassuring. Kearby advances his throttle slightly. The propeller spins faster. He checks his instruments. Oil pressure is good. Fuel flow normal. Magnetos functioning. 0528. Takeoff. One by one, the 4 Thunderbolts accelerate down the steel matting runway. Tail up. Stick back. Lift off. Landing gear retracting. Flaps up. Climb power. The formation assembles overhead. Turns west, toward Wewak. The flight is long, monotonous. The jungle below is unbroken green. No roads, no villages, nothing but trees. If an engine fails out here, a pilot bails out into that green hell. Chances of rescue are minimal, chances of survival even less. The jungle kills. Disease, animals, Japanese patrols. The jungle is the enemy as much as the Japanese are. Kearby monitors his instruments. Engine temperature steady. Fuel consumption normal. He calculates. At current speed and altitude, they will reach Wewak in 87 minutes. They can loiter over the target for 15 minutes. Then they must turn for home. No margin for error. At 0645, they reach the coast. The jungle gives way to the ocean. The Bismarck Sea, blue-green water stretching to the horizon. They turn north, following the coastline. Ahead, perhaps 30 miles, lies Wewak. At 0700, they begin their climb. From 12,000 feet to 30,000. The engines strain in the thin air, but the turbo superchargers compensate, force-feeding air into the cylinders, maintaining power. The aircraft climbed steadily. At 30,000 feet, the world looks different. The curvature of the Earth is visible. The sky above is deep blue, almost purple. Below, clouds form a white blanket, and ahead, rising through those clouds, smoke, black columns of smoke. Wewak's airfields. Kearby studies the scene. He can see 4 airfields, Boram, Dagwa, Wewak. But, on each airfield, aircraft, some moving, some stationary. He counts. More than 20 visible. Fighters, bombers, transports. This is the concentration intelligence reported. The Japanese are massing for an offensive. He keys his radio, reports the observation, gives coordinates. Estimates enemy strength. His voice is calm, professional, as if he is reporting weather, not describing a target worth millions of dollars and potentially hundreds of enemy lives. Then he sees them, below, climbing, a large formation. He counts quickly. More than 40 aircraft, 12 bombers, 36 fighters, heading southeast, toward Allied positions. This is not a patrol. This is a major strike mission. The tactical situation crystallizes in Kearby's mind. 4 American fighters against 48 Japanese aircraft, 12-1 odds. The smart play is to observe, report, let other units intercept. The reconnaissance mission is complete, they can return home, but if this strike reaches Allied positions, it will cause significant damage. Kill American and Australian troops, destroy aircraft on the ground. Kearby has the altitude advantage, the surprise advantage, the speed advantage. He can disrupt this strike, maybe stop it entirely, but it will mean combat, extended combat, against overwhelming odds, and their fuel is already limited. He makes his decision in 3 seconds. He keys his mic. 1 word. Attack! Captain Moore, his wingman, responds immediately. Roger. Major Gallagher. Understood, Captain Dunham. With you, sir. No hesitation. No questions. These men trust Kearby. They will follow him into hell if he leads. Kearby rolls inverted. The others follow. 4 P-47 seconds flip upside down. Noses drop. The dive begins. 30,000 feet. Speed builds. 200 miles per hour. 300. 400. The Japanese formation grows larger. Individual aircraft become visible. Nakajima Key, 43 Oscars. Kawasaki Key, 61 Tonys. The fighters are in loose formation, protecting the bombers below. 500 miles per hour. The P-47 seconds are vibrating now. The airframes flexed. But the Republic engineers built these aircraft strong. They can handle this. Kearby has done test dives to 700 miles per hour. This is only 500. The aircraft are still within limits. 600 miles per hour. Kearby pulls the stick back slightly, levels out 500 feet above the Japanese formation, selects his target, the lead Oscar, right in front of the entire formation. This will be a statement, a message. We are here. We are hunting you. 300 yards. 200. He squeezes the trigger. 8 guns fire. The recoil is violent. 140 rounds in 2 seconds. The lead Oscar simply explodes. One moment, it is an aircraft. Next, it is a fireball. Debris tumbles through the formation behind it. The Japanese scatter. Panic spreads through the formation like fire through dry grass. Pilots break in every direction. Up, down, left, right. The careful formation disintegrates into chaos. More attacks from the right. Take Tony. The Japanese fighter breaks hard, trying to evade. Too late. Moore's burst catches it in the engine. The cowling tears away. The propeller flies off. Tony rolls, burning, falling. Gallagher and Dunham work together. One dives, the other covers. They won an Oscar together, then another. The teamwork is perfect. Practiced. They have flown together for months. Each knows the other's mind. Kearby climbs, back to altitude, look for another target. Spots a Tony chasing Moore. Moore is climbing, trying to gain altitude. Tony is right behind him, closing, getting into firing position. Kearby rolls, dives. He is higher than Tony, faster. He drops down behind the Japanese pilot, like a hawk swooping on prey. The Tony pilot is fixated on Moore, does not see Kearby, does not see death approaching at 400 miles per hour. Kearby fires from 200 yards, 1 second burst. Enough. Tony's wing folds. The aircraft spins, out of control. The pilot bails out. His parachute opens. A white flower blooming against the blue sky. He will spend the rest of the war as a prisoner, if he survives the landing in the jungle below. 5 kills now. Kearby has just become a fighter ace. But he does not think about that. He thinks about fuel. He glances at his gauge. 1/4 tank remaining, maybe 30 minutes of flight time, not enough to reach base. They are too far, fought too long. He keys his radio. Form up. We're leaving. The 4P-47 seconds climb. 20,000 feet. 25. 30. They turn east, toward home. Below them, the Japanese regroup, count their losses. 9 aircraft are gone, 4 confirmed destroyed, 5 damaged or probably destroyed, against 4 American fighters. The flight back is tense. Kearby monitors his fuel. The gauge drops. 1/4, 1/8. The needle hovers just above empty. At 09:15 they cross the coastline, back over land. The jungle spreads below like a green ocean. At 09:43, Ward's drone appears on the horizon. Kearby calls the tower, requests priority landing, fuel emergency, 4 aircraft. They land one by one, Kearby last. His engine coughs as he taxis, runs dry. The propeller windmills to a stop. The ground crew pushes the aircraft to its parking spot. Kearby climbs out. His legs are shaky. Adrenaline wearing off. Exhaustion setting in. A crew chief hands him water. He drinks. The water is warm, tastes of chlorine. It is the best water he has ever tasted. The intelligence officers swarm him. They want details. What did you see? How many? Where? When? Kearby answers their questions mechanically. He is already thinking about the next mission, about how to improve the tactics, about what worked and what did not. The gun camera footage was developed that afternoon. Kearby's 6 kills are confirmed. Moore's 1, Gallagher's 1, Dunham's 1, 9 total, against 48 enemy aircraft, without losing a single P-47. General Kenny sees the report that evening. He immediately recommends Kearby for the Medal of Honor. The recommendation goes through channels, reaches General Douglas MacArthur's desk. MacArthur approves it. The Medal of Honor. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty, the ceremony takes place in January 1944. MacArthur himself pins the medal to Kearby's chest, in front of the entire 348th Fighter Group, in front of photographers and reporters. The first fighter pilot in the Southwest Pacific to receive the Medal of Honor, but the October 11th battle has consequences beyond one medal. Word spreads throughout the theater. The P-47, the fighter everyone mocked, the flying barrel, has just destroyed 9 Japanese aircraft without loss. The tactics work, the aircraft works, and suddenly, every fighter group wants P-47 seconds. More importantly, the Japanese get the message too. October 12, 1943. Tokyo, Imperial General Headquarters. The intelligence section receives reports from Wewak. 4 American P-47 fighters engaged 48 Japanese aircraft. Result: 9 Japanese aircraft destroyed, 0 American losses. At first, the intelligence officers assume the reports are exaggerated. Pilots overestimate their successes, underestimate their failures. This is normal, expected. Every Air Force does it. But the reports are corroborated. Multiple witnesses, gun camera footage from damaged Japanese aircraft. The numbers are real, 9-0. Colonel Takeo Shibata reads the reports. 43 years old, career intelligence officer. He has analyzed American aircraft for 2 years, studied their tactics, assessed their capabilities. He is considered an expert. He requests all available information on the P-47 Thunderbolt. Within 48 hours, a file assembles on his desk. Photographs, technical drawings, captured documents, interrogation reports from pilots who engaged the aircraft. Shibata studies the file for 2 days. What he finds disturbs him. The P-47D. Specifications are staggering. Empty weight 4,750 kilograms. By comparison, the Oscar weighs 1,890 kilograms. The Thunderbolt weighs nearly 3 times as much, but that weight is not wasted. It is armor, steel plates, bulletproof glass, self-sealing fuel tanks, structural strength. The P-47 can withstand battle damage that would destroy any Japanese fighter. The engine, Pratt & Whitney R2800 Double Wasp, 18 cylinders, 2,000 horsepower, more than twice the power of the Sakai engine in the Oscar, turbo-supercharged, maintaining full power up to 30,000 feet. At high altitude, the P-47 has overwhelming engine superiority. Armament: 8 Browning M2 50-caliber machine guns, total ammunition capacity 3,400 rounds. Weight of fire 12 kilograms per second. For comparison, the Oscar's two 12.7mm guns deliver 1.8 kilograms per second. The P-47's firepower is nearly 7 times greater. Shibata writes a detailed analysis. His conclusions are stark. The American P-47 represents a fundamental change in fighter philosophy. Japanese fighters prioritize maneuverability above all. The Americans prioritize survivability and firepower. At low altitude, Japanese fighters retain an advantage. But above 20,000 feet, the P-47 is superior in every category except turn rate, he continues. The Americans have developed tactics that exploit the P-47's strengths and minimize its weaknesses. They attack from high altitude using diving attacks. They refuse to engage in turning combat. They use superior speed and firepower to destroy targets before the enemy can react. These tactics are highly effective. His recommendations are clear. Japanese fighters should avoid combat above 20,000 feet. They should not chase diving P-47 seconds. They should wait for opportunities to engage at low altitude where maneuverability matters. They should attack during takeoff and landing when the heavy American fighters are vulnerable. The memo is filed, distributed to air groups throughout the theater. Commanders read it, discuss it. Most implement the recommendations. Japanese fighters begin avoiding high-altitude combat. They stay low, wait for the P-47 seconds to come down. But the P-47 seconds do not come down. They stay high, wait for the Japanese to climb. When the Japanese do climb, the Thunderbolts dive, attack, and climb away before anyone can react. The Japanese cannot win, cannot adapt fast enough. The loss rates speak for themselves. In November 1943, Japanese air groups in New Guinea lost 53 fighters. The Americans lost 12 P-47 seconds, 4-to-1 exchange ratio. In December, the ratio worsens. 61 Japanese fighters lost, 4 P-47 seconds, 15-to-1. By January 1944, the situation was critical. Japanese air strength in New Guinea is collapsing. Experienced pilots are dead. Replacements arrive with minimal training, barely 200 flight hours. They face American pilots with 500, 600, 800 hours of training, and behind those American pilots is an industrial machine Japan cannot match. December 1943. Rabaul, Engineering Section. Japanese engineers examine a captured American aircraft, not a P-47. Those are too heavily protected. American pilots destroy their own aircraft rather than let them be captured. But this aircraft is valuable nonetheless. A Vought F-4U Corsair, Navy fighter, carrier-based. It made an emergency landing on a beach after running out of fuel. The pilot was captured. The aircraft, damaged but repairable, was towed to a hangar. For 3 weeks, engineers swarm over it. Chief Engineer Kikuhara Shizuo leads the examination. He is methodical, meticulous. He measures everything, records everything, photographs everything. The Corsair uses the same engine as the P-47, Pratt & Whitney R2800, 2,000 horsepower. Kikuhara disassembles it, studies the construction. The quality is remarkable, precision machining, perfect tolerances. This engine was not hand-built by craftsmen. It was mass-produced, on an assembly line. To standards Japanese factories cannot achieve in one-off prototypes. The fuel tanks are self-sealing, multiple layers, rubber, fabric, another rubber layer. Between the layers, carbon dioxide injection. When a bullet penetrates, the CO2 expands, sealing the hole. Simple, elegant, effective. Japanese fighters have no such system. A single hit in the fuel tank means fire, death. The armor is extensive, steel plates, 10 millimeters thick behind the pilot, 8 millimeters around the engine, 5 millimeters under the fuel tanks. Total armor weight, 140 kilograms. That is more than the entire armament system of an Oscar. The construction quality astounds Kikuhara. The rivets are uniform, perfectly flush. The welds are flawless, no gaps, no rough edges. The aluminum skin is smooth as glass. This aircraft was not hand-finished. It came off an assembly line like this. Quality control is extraordinary. Kikuhara writes his report. His hand cramps from writing. The report runs 27 pages. His conclusions shake him. The Americans are not building aircraft. They are manufacturing them. Like automobiles, like sewing machines. Every part standardized. Every process is optimized. Quality is not an aspiration. It is a specification, and they achieve it in mass production. He includes calculations. Based on the Corsair's construction, he estimates American production capacity. If one factory can produce 50 aircraft per month at this quality level, and America has multiple factories, then monthly production could be in the thousands. His estimates are conservative. Reality is worse. In 1943, Japan produced 16,693 aircraft. All types: fighters, bombers, transports, trainers. Every factory worked at maximum capacity. Workers labored 7 days a week. Materials were rationed. Aluminum was scarce. The 16,693 aircraft represent a Herculean achievement, a production miracle. In that same year, the United States produced 92,196 aircraft, more than 5 times Japanese production. And American factories were not at maximum capacity. They were still expanding, building new plants, training new workers, installing new assembly lines. Kikuhara's report reaches Tokyo in January 1944. It is classified top secret, restricted to senior staff officers only, because its implications are too demoralizing to share widely. If American production is 5 times greater than Japanese production, the war is mathematically unwinnable. Every month, America builds 75,000 more aircraft than Japan. That gap compounds. After 6 months, the Americans have 450,000 more aircraft. After a year, 900,000. The numbers are too large to be real. Except they are real. Intelligence confirms them. American production statistics appear in newspapers. In congressional testimony, the Americans do not hide their production figures. They boast about them. In 1944, American production accelerated. 100,752 aircraft. In that single year, America produced more planes than Japan built during the entire war. And American aircraft are getting better. New models, improved engines, better weapons. The F-6F Hellcat replaces the F-4F Wildcat. The P-51 Mustang enters service. The P-47 receives upgraded engines, paddle blade propellers, and increased fuel capacity. Each generation is superior to the last. Japan's fighters, by contrast, stagnate. The Zero design dates from 1939, 5 years old. Minor updates have been made, improved armament, slightly better armor. But fundamentally, it is the same aircraft, because Japan lacks the industrial capacity to design, test, and produce a replacement. Every factory is committed to producing current designs. There is no spare capacity for new development, no resources for prototyping, no time for testing. The production lines cannot stop. If they stop, the frontline units run out of aircraft. So Japan continues building Zeros, Oscars, Tonys, designs that were adequate in 1941, obsolete by 1944, death traps by 1945. Kikuhara understands this. His report states it plainly. We are fighting an industrial war with a pre-industrial economy. America produces aircraft like we produce rice, in massive quantities. To consistent quality, with continuous improvement, we cannot compete. We can only delay the inevitable. Some officers reject the report. They argue that the Japanese spirit will overcome material disadvantages, that courage matters more than production, that one Japanese pilot equals 10 Americans. These arguments are emotionally satisfying, strategically irrelevant, mathematically impossible. In combat, one pilot facing 10 enemies does not win through spirit. He dies. The math is simple, brutal, final. March 5, 1944. 5 months after his Medal of Honor mission, Neel Kearby has 21 confirmed kills. He is competing with Richard Bong and Thomas Lynch to break Eddie Rickenbacker's World War I record of 26 victories. General Kenny has ordered him to reduce his flying. Kearby is too valuable, too symbolic. If he dies, the publicity would be devastating. Kenny restricts him to 2 combat flights per week, maximum, and if Kearby scores a kill, he must immediately break off combat and return to base. Kearby chafes at these restrictions. He is a fighter pilot. Fighter pilots fight, but he obeys, mostly. March 5th. He leads a 3-aircraft patrol, Captain William Dunham on his wing, Major Samuel Blair flying cover. They are searching for targets near Wewak, the area where Kearby won his Medal of Honor 5 months earlier. At 0937, they spot 3 Ki-48 bombers, twin-engine, light bombers, approaching WWII airfield, probably returning from a mission, low on fuel, vulnerable. Kearby attacks, damages 1 bomber, but do not see it crash. He wants to confirm the kill, so he makes a complete circle, come back for another pass. The maneuver takes 30 seconds. In combat, 30 seconds is an eternity. A Ki-43 Oscar from the 77th Sentai sees the opportunity. The Oscar pilot, name unknown, drops in behind Kearby, closes to 100 meters, fires a long burst, 40 rounds, maybe 50. Several hits. Kearby's P-47 shudders. Smoke pours from the engine cowling. Rounds have struck the cockpit. The engine. Critical hits. The Thunderbolt can withstand tremendous damage, but not this. Not at this range. Dunham sees it, attacks the Oscar. Shoot it down. But it was too late. Kearby's aircraft is already falling. Rolling left. Nose down. Descending into the jungle. Dunham and Blair circle, looking for a parachute. They see it. White silk against green jungle. Kearby bailed out. The chute opens. He is alive. But the parachute snags in a tree. Kearby dangles, wounded, bleeding. Local villagers see him later. Find his body. He died from his wounds before reaching the ground, or perhaps during the landing. The exact cause of death is never determined. His body was not recovered until 1949. 5 years after his death, American troops find the crash site, recover his remains. DNA testing confirms identity. He is buried with full military honors at Hillcrest Memorial Park, Dallas, Texas, July 23, 1949. His wife, Virginia, attends. His 3 sons, aged 13, 11, and 9, too young to really remember their father. General Douglas MacArthur sends a telegram. Colonel Kearby was one of the finest combat leaders I have ever known. His death is a loss to the nation. But Kearby's death does not slow the war, does not change the trajectory. By March 1944, American air superiority over New Guinea was absolute. The P-47 seconds, joined by P-38 Lightnings and P-51 Mustangs, control the skies. Japanese aircraft rarely appear, and when they do, they are shot down almost immediately. The 348th Fighter Group continues fighting. Under new command, Colonel Robert Rowland takes over. The missions continue: bomber escort, fighter sweeps, ground attack. By the end of 1944, the group had claimed 396 enemy aircraft, more than half of all P-47 kills in the 5th Air Force. 20 pilots in the group become aces, 5 or more kills. Robert Rowland, Lawrence O'Neill, William Banks, William Dunham, Walter Benz, Samuel Blair, and later, George Davis, who will receive the Medal of Honor in Korea flying F-86 Sabres. The group receives 2 Distinguished Unit citations, One for operations over New Britain, December 16th to 31st, 1943. Another for operations during the liberation of the Philippines. But the individual stories, the personal achievements, are overshadowed by larger truths. The P-47 succeeded in the Pacific not because it was the best fighter. It was not. The P-51 Mustang was faster. The P-38 Lightning had a longer range. The F-4U Corsair was more versatile. The P-47 succeeded because it was available, because it was tough, because it could take punishment and keep flying, because pilots learned to trust it, and most importantly, because America could build them faster than Japan could shoot them down. 1945, the final year of the war. The P-47 Newton's model enters service, specifically designed for the Pacific, longer range, redesigned wings holding more fuel, total internal capacity, 865 gallons. With external tanks, over 1,300 gallons, range 3,200 kilometers, 2,000 miles. Enough to escort B-29 superfortresses from Iwo Jima to Tokyo and back. The P-47 Newtons arrives just in time. The B-29 campaign against Japan is intensifying. Hundreds of bombers fly from the Marianas. They strike Japanese cities, industrial targets, oil refineries, shipyards. The strategic bombing campaign is devastating, but the bombers need fighter escort, protection from Japanese interceptors. The P-47 Newtons provides that protection. The 318th Fighter Group deploys to Ie-Shima, a small island west of Okinawa. From there, they escort B-29 seconds. Fly fighter sweeps over southern Japan, intercept kamikaze aircraft before they reach American ships off Okinawa. May 25, 1945. The 318th launches a major fighter sweep, 48 P-47Ns, target airfields around Kyushu, the southern Japanese home island. They fly at 30,000 feet, invisible, silent, waiting. Below, at a dozen airfields, Japanese fighters prepare for kamikaze missions. Nakajima Ki-84 Hayates, Kawasaki Ki-100 seconds, even some remaining Zeros, all loaded with bombs, all piloted by young men, teenagers mostly, chosen for suicide missions. The P-47 seconds dive. The attack is devastating. The Japanese aircraft are on the ground, vulnerable, pilots running to their planes, ground crews trying to start engines. The Thunderbolts strafe the fields. Rockets whoosh from wing rails. Bombs detonate among parked aircraft. In 20 minutes, the air bases are destroyed. 37 Japanese aircraft were confirmed destroyed on the ground. 5 more shot down trying to take off. American losses, 0. 3 days later, May 28th, the 318th repeats the mission. Different targets, same result. 40 Japanese aircraft were destroyed, no American losses. These missions save lives. Each kamikaze aircraft destroyed on the ground is one that cannot attack American ships, cannot kill American sailors. The P-47 pilots do not think about this. They focus on tactics, on targets, on survival. But the strategic impact is real. By August, when Japan surrendered, the P-47 had compiled extraordinary statistics. Pacific theater totals: 697 Japanese aircraft shot down in air combat, over 2,100 destroyed on the ground. Thousands of ships, locomotives, vehicles, and fortifications were devastated. Loss rates: 128 P-47 seconds lost in air combat. Exchange ratio 5.4 to 1. But more importantly, pilot survival rate: 82% of P-47 pilots shot down survive, the highest survival rate of any fighter in the war. The armor works, the structure holds, the aircraft brings pilots home. After the war, the P-47 served on. Not in America, where jet fighters replace it by 1950, but in Allied air forces. Brazil used P-47 seconds until 1958, Peru until 1966. Bolivia's last P-47 was retired in 1973, 28 years after the war ended. Today, only a few dozen remain airworthy. Museum pieces, private collections. At air shows, they still fly. The R-2800 double wasp engines still roar, the propellers still blur. The aircraft still look massive, ungainly, and powerful. Old pilots watch them fly. Men in their 90s now. They remember youth, remember fear, remember friends who never came home. They remember the Thunderbolt, the aircraft that was too heavy, too clumsy, too big for the Pacific, the aircraft that won anyway. The story of the P-47 inches the Pacific is not a story about aircraft, it is a story about industrial power. When Japanese pilots saw the Thunderbolt in the sky, they saw more than an enemy fighter. They saw American factories working 3 shifts, assembly lines producing 1 aircraft every hour, a nation with resources Japan could never match. Republic Aviation's factory in Farmingdale, New York, produced 8,683 P-47 seconds. Evansville, Indiana, produced another 7,000. Total production, 15,683 aircraft. Each one cost $83,000, 27 times the cost of an average American house in 1943. The numbers told the story. America's gross domestic product in 1943 was $200 billion. Japan's was $30 billion. Oil production, 222 times greater. Steel production, 13 times greater. Those ratios decided the war. Japan produced brilliant aircraft. The Zero was a masterpiece of design, but Japan could not produce enough of them, could not replace the pilots who died flying them. By 1945, Japanese factories produced a few hundred aircraft per month. American factories produced thousands. The P-47 symbolized this reality. Not elegant, not graceful, but overwhelming. It embodied the industrial power that won World War II. It was not a beautiful aircraft, not a graceful aircraft, not an aircraft that inspired poets, but it was an aircraft that won, that brought pilots home, that embodied the industrial power that won World War II, and in the end, that was enough. Thank you for reading. For more detailed historical breakdowns, check out the other videos on your screen now, and don't forget to subscribe.